Cold rain poured down the empty road as thunder rumbled in the distance, and a tired single father drove slowly through the storm, unaware that the small act of kindness he was about to offer would change his life forever. The headlights of his old pickup truck cut through the darkness, reflecting off the wet asphalt, when suddenly he noticed a young nurse standing alone at a deserted bus stop, soaked by the rain and shivering in the cold. In that quiet moment, the world seemed to pause, as if fate itself was watching what he would do next. Before the story continues, if you believe that even the smallest acts of kindness can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Grandma Dearie. Your support helps bring more emotional and inspiring stories like this to life. The man behind the wheel was named Daniel, a 35-year-old single father who had spent the last 5 years struggling to keep his life together after losing his wife to illness. Life had not been kind to him. He worked long hours as a mechanic in a small garage on the edge of town, barely earning enough to support himself and his young daughter, Lily. His truck was old, his clothes were worn, and most nights he returned home exhausted. But despite the hardships, Daniel had something many people with wealth often lacked, a heart that refused to become bitter. That night, he had just finished a late shift and was rushing home to relieve the babysitter who was watching Lily. The rainstorm made the road nearly impossible to see, and most drivers sped past without caring about anything but getting home. But Daniel's eyes caught something others ignored: the young woman in blue medical scrubs standing alone under the weak light of a bus stop. Her hair was soaked, her arms wrapped around herself to keep warm, and the last bus had clearly already passed. She looked tired, worried, and vulnerable in the cold rain. Daniel slowed down, hesitating for a moment. In today's world, people often avoided strangers, afraid of trouble or misunderstanding. But Daniel remembered something his late wife used to say: kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything. He pulled the truck over. The young nurse looked surprised as Daniel rolled down the window and gently offered her a ride to the hospital or anywhere she needed to go. She hesitated at first, her eyes studying him carefully, as if measuring his intentions. But the rain was relentless, and Daniel's tired face carried a sincerity that was difficult to fake. Slowly, she nodded and climbed into the passenger seat. The heater in the truck struggled to warm the cold air as they drove through the storm. Daniel kept his focus on the road, occasionally glancing over to make sure the woman was comfortable. Her name, she said, was Emily, and she worked long shifts at a nearby hospital. She seemed quiet, almost observant, as if she was carefully noticing every detail about Daniel: the worn steering wheel, the small child's drawing taped to the dashboard, the lunchbox sitting on the seat behind him. What Daniel didn't know was that Emily was not just a nurse. For months, the city police department had been running a quiet undercover operation. There had been increasing reports of drivers harassing or taking advantage of vulnerable people during late-night storms and power outages. To catch the offenders, an undercover officer was posing as a stranded medical worker, waiting to see how people truly behaved when they thought no one was watching. Emily was that officer. Many drivers had passed her without even slowing down. A few had stopped with questionable intentions, but Daniel was different. From the moment he offered the ride, his only concern had been making sure she got somewhere safe. As they drove, Emily noticed small details that revealed the kind of man Daniel was. The truck's back seat had a tiny pink backpack and a worn teddy bear. His hands were rough from years of hard work. When his phone buzzed, the screen briefly lit up with a photo of a smiling little girl hugging him. Halfway through the drive, Daniel apologized softly for the condition of his truck and explained he had to pick up his daughter soon. He even offered to drop Emily directly at the hospital entrance so she wouldn't have to walk in the rain. That was the moment Emily realized something important. This man, who had so little, was willing to help a stranger without expecting anything in return. By the time they reached the hospital parking lot, the rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle. Emily stepped out of the truck and thanked Daniel sincerely. He simply smiled, nodded politely, and drove away into the night without asking for anything. But the story didn't end there. The next morning, while Daniel was fixing a car engine at the garage, a black police vehicle pulled into the parking lot. His heart skipped with worry as two officers stepped out, followed by the same woman he had given a ride to. Emily approached him with a warm smile and explained everything: the undercover operation, the purpose of the test, and how rare it was to meet someone who acted with such genuine kindness. Daniel stood there speechless. He had expected nothing from his small act, but Emily revealed that the department had decided to publicly recognize citizens who demonstrated extraordinary compassion. They had also partnered with a local community foundation. Within weeks, Daniel's story spread across the town. Donations poured in to help repair his aging truck and support his daughter's education. The small mechanic shop where he worked saw more customers than ever before. But the greatest reward wasn't the attention or the help. It was the quiet reminder that kindness, even when unnoticed, always finds its way back. Before we reach the end of this story, here's a special request for you. Please comment the word kindness if you believe small good deeds can truly change lives. And if this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie. Your support helps keep these meaningful stories alive and spreading hope. Because sometimes, on the darkest and rainiest nights, a simple act of kindness can light a path that changes everything. Red.